Well, first thing I gotta ask is what was more painful, getting blindsided or the five cavities you apparently had during your time on Survivor?
Okay, first off, I wasn't blindsided, and we can talk about that. Second off, I went to my dentist a month before I left for Survivor, got a full checkup, full x-rays, full cleaning, got my teeth whitened. Don't recommend, very painful. Come back from Survivor, and this has been several months now. I had to get a root canal and I had five cavities. And so I know I'm getting roasted on the internet of like, that can't happen, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, all I know is I went before, had nothing, came back. And I will point out that I had a lot of fruit that sat on my teeth and a lot of pastries. And I drank an entire French press of coffee, which is what I actually think did it. All that acidity sat on my teeth for weeks. So
Wow. All right. Well, let's talk about an
who
acidic
knows?
departure, I should say, from Survivor as well. So you said that you weren't blindsided. And, at Tribal Council, you are talking with Jeff a little bit about, the paranoia. There were some people that hadn't talked to you about stuff. So what were your expectations going into this vote?
So throughout the whole day, I was pretty chill. And well, by chill, I mean absolutely anxiety ridden. I was just like, there are so many people to talk to. Half of them I'd known for literally half a second. This is insane. It was just a lot. I was like overstimulated to the max. But towards the end of the day, when we were getting ready to go to tribal, um, I had a gut feeling. I felt the energy. Just like day one, I felt the energy of I'm on the bottom of this tribe, and I expressed that. I am an energy person. I love Caesar Milan. I felt that energy. And there was a moment towards when we were getting ready to go to tribal. Um, I had kind of caught Kyle, Camilla, and it was somebody else. I can't even remember because I kind of blacked out. They were walking from the water well, and I kind of like met them at this path, and had all been talking, kind of looking down. And when Kyle looked up and looked at me, saw it on his face, and I was like, something's not right. And I just felt it. So all of my clothes were wet, my shoes were wet, everything was soaking, and I was going to initially leave it. And before we left for tribal, I went and got my shoes because they're very expensive and I wanted to save those. And I got my shoes and I told myself, I was like, okay, you feel it. If this is your night, go out with grace, go out with dignity, just the way that you played the game. Don't get mad, don't be a big baby. And that's what I did.
Well, on that note, to the point of you feeling like something was up, were you ever tempted to play your shot in the dark? Was there something that happened in Tribal that made you feel like, okay, maybe there's a chance I need my vote for something?
I will be so real with you, and this does show that I have some dingbat tendencies. I blacked out at Tribal. Like I rewatching that, I was like, who is that person? What are all these weird faces? I mean, I said that. It was such a blackout experience of like, I'm in fight or flight. What is going on? It could be me, it could be Say. I literally forgot that it wasn't even a thought. I was just like, what's gonna happen?
Interesting. Well, you
I
mentioned
still
before. Oh, there we go. A nice memento along with those
have great
shoes.
souvenir.
Now let's go back to the beginning here because I want to, go back to what you were saying about even getting a read of that energy on day one that you were on the bottom. A little bit surprising because I think the edit at least was contextualizing it as okay, Camilla's throwing Charity under the bus. Does she realize she's on the out? So talk to me a little bit about those initial perceptions from that first day.
Yeah, I just felt that energy, and you can kind of just tell. There's just kind of like everybody's sizing everyone up, and I could just feel that energy of like, okay, if we had to go to tribal council right now in this moment, who would everyone vote out, not knowing anything about anyone? And I knew, I could tell it was me and Camilla, and I told Camilla that. And good gameplay, girl, proud of you. I would have done the same thing if it was flipped around. She planted that seed and she was like, hey, if Charity thinks we're on the bottom, I'm going to throw her furthest to the bottom. And I absolutely applaud her to do that. I would have done the same thing if I was the other way around. My thinking was I'm going to tell Camilla because maybe if we can remain a little block here as two, that could be beneficial. But yeah, I felt it from day one. And guess what? I wasn't wrong.
So was that sort of where, you going to Camilla and saying Kyle might have had something from this journey? Was that an attempt to sort of like bond you together? Because that was something that she was able to use to her credit to throw you under the bus.
Honestly, it wasn't an intentional, like, let's bond together. I was just processing out loud. And I was like, okay, nobody else, like, I'm not saying I don't believe Kyle. I don't even know him yet. So I can't make a judgment on if he's lying or not because I know nothing about this human. But I am going to explore every avenue. And no one has asked, you're telling me this very muscular, athletic man just lost to a guy with one arm? And also, I've never seen glass used in Survivor other than a timer. And he's telling us there was a glass pot, never seen one, not in 48 seasons. So I was just kind of questioning, like, I just want to go down every avenue. And really, my actual quote to Camilla was, if there was anyone who could possibly have an advantage, maybe it's Kyle, but I could just be being paranoid, which that was me kind of pulling back on my true thoughts.
So, if Siva 1.0 were to go to tribal council, I think it's been expressed by Camilla in other interviews and by others that you would have gone. Now, you were feeling like you were on the outside. What do you think would have happened had you gone to tribal with that? But in a case where you're like, gotta play my shot in the dark, I feel like I'm on the outs here.
I feel like if we would have went to tribal, I think that I felt really obviously confident with Mitch very quickly. I think that, I mean, I would have swung for the fences. I would have known that my name would be written down. I would have known that I'm in the mix for this, but I definitely, to be honest, I would have gone to David and Kyle and said, "Look, I want to work with you guys, whether it's Camilla or Chrissy. It doesn't matter as long as it ain't me." I would have tried and we would have seen what happened, but I don't think you can really predict that, especially that being so soon in the season.
Talk to me about your relationship with Mitch, because yeah, you talk about feeling on the outside. He was probably the sole exception there. Talk to me about how you two were able to seemingly form such a close bond to the point where, he's one of the only people left out of your vote here.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm gonna cry talking about him. I miss him. I love him, like genuinely. And I think he is one of the strongest people I have ever met. You watch him overcome his stutter every second he opens his mouth. And that takes a strong, resilient human. And from one strong, resilient person to the other, you kind of you can recognize that in other people of this person has been through some things. And everybody on the island has, but um, because of that every day him overcoming that, he has so much joy though. And I just immediately recognize that. And it's such a genuine, honest thing that I was like, I just love him and I will protect him at all costs. Like, I'll be honest, there was a moment where I was like, I would have to vote Mitch off because he is hands down the most likable person on this cast. And honestly, I would take him to the end and he would win. And I don't even care. That's how much I love him. Like how deserving he is. So he was just an immediate, sometimes you meet people in life that you're like immediate connection, immediate life friend. And I was just lucky enough to meet one on Survivor.
Now, let's move perhaps to the other side of the spectrum. Let's talk about
Okay.
David,
Oh
because
my
you were
God.
with him for the entirety of the game. You're talking about him to the other people as
No,
like
right?
he's Mr. All for One and One for All. He's not very strategic. I know there are some things you said on social media, certainly, about why David might have had some resentment towards you. So give me your thoughts on the dynamic that the two of you had.
David was like my annoying big brother. That I was just like, okay, which I have two annoying big brothers, honestly, and they're around David's age. So it was very much like that. Um, I love David to death. And you know what? I spent the most time with him. So everybody who's coming for me about rolling my eyes at him, nobody else had to spend that amount of time with him, okay? I love him. I think he is hilarious. In the game, I will stand by it, and him and I have talked about it. I do not think he's strategic. I know we see all these clips of him of like, oh, I would throw Charity under the bus. Charity spent the most time with you and put up with you for the longest, and she's willing to take you to the end because she thinks you're a big dumb idiot. Like that you should have recognized it, buddy. But I love him so much. He's a wild ride. He is so unique.
Well, I want to go from one of your, most tenured tri members to one of your least. I want to talk about Eva here because we get a couple of these sound bites from Eva being like, there's something about Charity that's so fake. You talk with Star about like, you might want to get that idol back, which is something that helps continue to turn Eva against you. So talk to me a bit about this dynamic and were you surprised at all by the things she was saying about you?
I was shocked that she called me fake because first off, we're not required to go out there and call people names. There are no clips of me doing that other than calling David a big dumb idiot, which I that's like something I say in real life, which I think is like silly. Um, I was very shocked that she called me fake because never in my life have I been accused of being fake because I am too real and it gets me in trouble, clearly. Uh, every interaction I had with Eva was incredibly authentic, genuine. During that challenge when she was getting so upset, obviously they can't air the whole thing in every soundbite. I felt incredibly protective over her because the other tribes were also yelling things. There were a couple of people or someone yelling, "Get upset, get mad, Eva." And I turned around and said, "Get out of here. You don't need to be yelling that to her." I literally said that to someone who was on a whole nother tribe because I'm looking at this young woman who is getting so upset. I'm watching her start to hold her breath. And I'm like, hey, it's okay. Calm down. You have all the time. Don't worry about it. That's why I was the first to run over there and absolutely say, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you because I watched her overcome something that was very difficult for her in that moment, not even knowing that autism was a factor. So I just yeah, that was tough to watch because if I'm anything, it is real deal. What you see is what you get. And so that was tough to watch, but also it's a game. So I can't take that super personally. And I've spoken with her outside of the show and we're all good and love her to death.
I know you were expecting at least some votes to come your way, but let's say you had gone through, your first tribal council here. What were some of the plans you were looking for to the end game? I know you mentioned that, you were going to perhaps bring Mitchell alongside you no matter what, but was your plan to run Siva strong until the final six? Were there some of these new faces you were looking already to bring along with you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Steve Strong is like it's like the dream of every season, and like that's not realistic. That never would have happened. And no, I would have voted Camilla off first of our tribe because I immediately recognize smart, sneaky, totally on the DL. No one's expecting anything. She's great at puzzles. Like that would have been my pitch for sure. Probably wouldn't have gone over well. Um, but I was very interested with working with Star. She had trusted me with that advantage before she told anybody else. I think she is, I think she's absolutely terrifying to work with because she is so, you cannot predict anything she's going to do. Say nothing. Like she's so unpredictable, but that would have been a great person to take to the end. David would have took him to the end. I just, but I didn't because I got voted off. So
Well, the last thing I want to ask is you were someone who, from the beginning through this most recent episode, right, you were talking about like, I'm giving myself a little license to be sneaky, to fully embrace the game of Survivor, because this isn't something I normally do in my real life. And it's interesting comparing that to this alliance we see kind of brimming behind the scenes last episode that's more about like, all right, we want to play with these people who are, wearing their heart on their sleeves with honesty and integrity. And, it's interesting. Do you think that your wantonness to be a little bit more, taking the game and all of its cutthroatness by the horns, did that contribute at all to this perception that you were gaming too hard or you were so untrustworthy? And is that something that you would necessarily recommend to future players?
I definitely think it gives an impression of who I am. And so, general public who sees that is like, okay, she likes Russell Hantz. What type of person is she? Or, that sort of thing. Obviously, that's inside of the game of Survivor. I'm not living like Russell in real life, duh. But also, yeah, I would probably rethink that. But again, like I'm just so genuine to who I am. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna make something up. And it's like inside of the actual game, there are no clips of me not really being that trustworthy or being sneaky. And I'm like, show me the clips. I'd love to see them too.
For what it's worth, you could rock a fedora though better than Russell could any day.
Oh my God, stop. Never.
Well, it's always such a great opportunity to talk with you because you are, for lack of a better term, so charitable with your energy and
You
your
gotta
time.
stop that.
And
Stop.
well, I guess and here's the thing: is that you were incredibly open about your experience. I was there for that first day about your story and how this was an opportunity for you to sort of like make up for lost time, and it truly did feel like you played that way with how much again you were trying to embrace all these different elements of the game. So obviously, I wish we were talking, in a month and a half time, where you were taking home that $1 million, but. for what it's worth, as you mentioned before, you were able to stick to that promise you made of walking out with your head held high, not completely blindsided, feeling like, yes, it was your first tribal council, but it was a hell of a 2 week period to be out there on the island.
One and done, babe. I had the best time. And whether I would have been voted out first or last, the gratefulness in me does not change. It is the same amount because I was honestly living a dream out there. And I
Well,
had
I'm so grateful to have the chance to talk with you again. Always fantastic. So thank you so much, as
thank
always.
you,
Of
Bloom. I
course,
appreciate you.
of course, I appreciate you. All the best to you and yours, and you have a great day. Thanks so much again, Charity.
Yeah.
Bye.